Broccoli stem. After today, you'll never throw it away again. Okay, so we start with a little bit of fat. There we go. We got our aromatics. Got a little onion. Got a little leek. Okay, notice there's not a whole lot of sound going on in there. We got our parsnip. Got some celery. There we go. And you'll notice when I did my side, I really just grabbed I grabbed the parts that nobody wants anymore, you know? You'll usually walk by and find this in the compost bin anyway, or in the stock kettle, but if someone doesn't have a stock kettle. Then a little bit of salt. Why a little bit of salt? Why this pot? Because I don't want color.
Yep.
I want limited amount of surface area. I want eye sides. I don't want moisture coming out of the vegetables and moisture being trapped in that pan. So I steam those vegetables. I don't want color. This is a cream soup. It should be white, right? There should be not a lot of color going on in there. Yeah, we are using broccoli, so a little bit of chlorophyll is going to come out. We'll have some green color. For the most part, this soup is going to be very white. Okay? Sweat that on out. Okay? Nice and easy. Okay? Again, you notice that the heat's not tremendously high, and the sound that we hear is not rip roaring, right? Okay. Got 12 ounces of broccoli. I know it seems like, but there's a lot of surface area, and that's about 12 ounces. Okay? So once we get those vegetables sweated out, we're gonna add our broccoli. Again, season every step of the way. Just gonna sweat those out. Okay? We wanna get those vegetables coated. We wanna see a slight change in color. Okay. And you can see mostly what's going on in that pot is broccoli stems and some of the flowers I was trying to trim up, and maybe they didn't turn out so nice, so I decided in they go. And like I said earlier, I try to limit the amount of chlorophyll that goes into this soup, because if you simmer chlorophyll too long, it tends to get like an olive drab, brown, gray color. So I like to use the stems as much as I can when I create this soup.
So Chef, so you don't parboil the vegetables you're gonna
You do
add?
not need to parboil the vegetables. There are some people who will just make a velouté. They'll sweat out their white mirepoix. They'll build their roux. They'll add their stock and they'll make a velouté. Then they'll take broccoli, blanch it off, throw it in there, and then puree the whole mess.
Yeah.
It's really 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Both ways are completely feasible. I like this way, however, because all the flavor of the broccoli is coming out in the sweating of the stems. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our stock now. We're making a quart of soup, so I have 4 ounces of aromatic, 12 ounces of stuff. That's 1 pound of stuff. Now I need 5 cups of liquid. I'm going to add, how much stock do you think?
4 cups.
4 cups. Why not 5? Because I'm
Consistency.
finishing with a cup of cream. That is exactly correct. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and that should roughly cover it. 4. Okay. We're going to bring that up to a boil. We're going to lower it to a simmer. And we're going to let it do its thing. Sachet. And she goes. Okay. Remember the sachet. Remember the sachet. Okay, cool. Stir that all together. And now we're going to get our roux going. Okay, so it's going to come up to a boil. Lower it to a simmer. While that's going, we're going to work our roux. Okay, some people make their roux ahead of time. I find making roux takes just the right amount of time as for that to come up to a simmer. Did we weigh this?
Yeah,
How much does it weigh?
2.2.
2.2 ounces. Excellent, because I'm thickening a quart of liquid. So I need to weigh out my fat? No. Not really as important as the flour. I just want to make a roux that I can manipulate, right? So I added about just shy of 2 ounces of fat, giving me that 60-40 ratio. Work it together. So we're going to go past cookie dough into slightly roasted nut. You don't want to go into toasted nut. You do not want burnt peanut butter. Okay. Just gonna make a paste. We're gonna cook out that paste. There we go. Good. Again, don't play with this, don't flip it. You do not want this landing on your hand. That's why I use a rubber spatula when I do it, so that way I can get it off the sides, control the color. Okay, good. Just get a little more heat on that. This is coming up to temp. And you'll notice that hot roux going in here is really going to help us out. Okay, so the roux is nice and hot. Done. We're getting that just warm nut smell going on. And in it goes. And look what happens when it goes in. That roux is so hot, it brings everything right up to a boil. Some people will put it in using a whisk. I find that there's a lot of solid material in here, and it tends to get caught in the whisk. Plus, this soup is going to be pureed, and then it's going to be strained, so it's a little bit more forgiving. You okay? What did you just do?
Me? Oh, sorry. Just trying
Oh,
to
okay. Oh, I thought you burned yourself. How'd you burn yourself? You're not even near anything. Okay, then we want to give it a taste. Evaluate it for seasoning. Just a little bit of salt. Good. Okay. It's really, here, hold out your hand. It's really not that much. You know what I mean?
Those are like half my.
Well, then, yeah, you have tiny hands too. It looks like a lot. That looks like a lot, but she's look at the hands. Right? So, it's a little difference, right? Okay.
It's just funny to me when you say a little bit of salt, and I think about like a purpose too.
Chef's got like 2 fingers in there. Allie's like, ooh, digging in with like a shovel.
Give me the box.
Give me the box. All right. There we go. That's coming up to a simmer. I'm happy with the seasoning. I'm going to put that off and let it
Oh,
simmer.
that's good.
Okay. What happened?
Your
Oh,
towel.
yeah. It always does. Okay. This is probably my favorite tasting. That is boiling water. Hot water. This is probably the most common infraction cooks make. Chef, do you taste my sauce? Chef, do you want to taste my steak? Chef, will you taste this? You know what I love tasting of a cook? Their veg water. This tells so much. I would like everyone just come by, and I'd like you to just take a little bit of water, and I'd like you to taste hot water out of the tap. Go. Go. This is going to change it. Today's going to change your life. It reminds me of Sunday morning after a night of drinking, when I'm standing in the shower trying to wash the fuzzy things off my teeth. Ladies and gentlemen, warm water is not appealing. Wow. There you go. Everyone look at Allie's face. Says it all right there. Right?
Not yet
It's
tea.
not good. It's not good.
It's very bland tea, basically.
Very it has no redeeming qualities.
It tastes like the pot.
It tastes like the pot. So, I ask you, is this what you want to cook your vegetables in?
No, chef.
Is this what you want to cook your pasta in?
No, chef.
Absolutely not.
Needs salt.
The other night, I went out to a restaurant. I went out to a really nice Italian restaurant. And it was about 10 o'clock by the time our entrees came out. And I ordered this tagliatelle bolognese. Beautiful. Bolognese was perfect. Pasta was al dente, just like it should be. And I took one bite into it, and I was like, what a disappointment.
Sorry.
It was so bland. So I called the waitress over. I go, excuse me, can you please bring us back to the kitchen? I would like you to ask the cook if he has just changed out his pasta water. Because I think he just changed out his pasta water, and he forgot to put salt in the water before he put mine. Now, I love him for changing out his pasta water, because it's 10 o'clock at night. His pasta water probably cooked down. It was filled with starch, overly salty. Good for him. He changed out his pasta water. But I got to tell you, he did not put salt in his new water. And she goes, well, our pasta cook is very... I said, would you trust me? Just go ask him. She goes back into the kitchen, comes out. How did you know? How did you know? I go, well, I look at the clock. I know restaurants. I look at the clock. Pasta, this, it just happens. So, we're going to add salt. And remember when we were talking about consomme and not seasoning the liquid? Look how clear that liquid is. No salt. I'm going to season it. Instantly, it turns cloudy. Right? So, going back to a previous lesson, consomme. Season the raft. Baste it in. Okay, so now we got some stuff going on in there. We're going to taste that. Make sure it's ready for our broccoli. A little more salt. Okay, good. Okay. Now I want you to taste that. And I'll tell you a little story. Let me tell you a little story. Give my soup a little stir. Oh, baby, you look so good. You and me later on in that cup. You know it, girl. You know it's true. Okay, taste that water, and I'll tell you a little story. The story is prefaced with a question. I think we're all adults now. How many of you have ever had a lover? Anyone ever had a lover?
Yes.
No, not yet. All right. I'm just saying, hey, whatever your sense of love is.
Oh my God.
That's good for you. So there it was. Me and my lover. I like to go to the beach with my lover. We lay in the sand, we frolic in the surf. It's really nice. You're barely wearing any clothes. It's awesome. So there I am with my lover at the beach one day. And she's out playing in the surf. Her body's glistening. And I'm laying on the blanket waiting for her. And I see her getting out of the surf. She looks radiant. She's walking up the beach towards me, so I quick close my eyes, like I pretend like I don't see her coming. Because I know when she gets on the blanket, there's an entrance fee to the blanket. You know, usually you get a smooch, right? So there I am, she comes out, and I could hear the sand crunching. You know how you could put your ear to the ground and you could hear vibrations in the air? I could hear her coming. I could hear her steps crunching in the sand as she approached. Then, suddenly there was a little tug at my back. I could feel the blanket I was laying on go snug as her knees pressed into the blanket. It put tension on the back, and I could feel it in my back. I could feel her kneeling in the blanket. And then, I got, it was a, no. And then, oh my sword. And then, suddenly, I got a little chill. Because she leaned over and her body eclipsed the sun that was warming me as I laid there. So I just opened my eyes just a crack, and all I could see is this beautiful glow of the sun around this radiant, glistening body. And she leaned in, and she put her face right next to my face, and she's getting ready to kiss me. And just as her lips are about to touch my lips, the tiny bead of water rolls down her face just to the tip of her nose and whoop, falls off of her nose and into my mouth right before she kissed me. And do you know what it tasted like?
Salt water?
My fucking green vegetable cooking water. Okay? So that's how excited I want people to get about cooking vegetables.
It's a very vivid story, though.
It's a very good story.
Very vivid.
Okay, so there we go. Boiling water, salted. Away we go. Ample amounts, right? You don't want to crowd it. You don't want to add too much. Too much vegetable in there is going to drop. And you get, whoo! It's going to drop the temperature of the water, and you're not going to be cooking your green vegetable. Now I threw enough vegetable in where the water can maintain 212 degrees, and I'm boiling. How do we know when they're done?
Taste it?
We're going to taste it, absolutely. Remember, vegetables are like children. They should be seen and not heard.
All right.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yep, not right.
Yep.
I take my vegetables very seriously. If you guys want to do a little experiment, put some water on, don't put any salt in it. Send that to everyone. Is that what you're doing? This is a classic. This is the one that'll get me fired. You know, it's like you can't talk like that to them. Why not? Did I offend anyone? No? All right, I'll try harder. Totally. Hey, food is very intimate, you know? This is intimate business. You take stuff, you put it in other people, it becomes part of them. What?
Why?
Just saying. Okay, there we go. I missed. Good. I think we're there. I think we're ready. Yep. Okay. Good. Now comes the garnish. And we're going to shock it. Why do we shock green vegetables? To set the color. All right, there we go. It's really the only vegetable we need to shock. Everything else you could just take out. Okay. Got a little heavy cream. There's our last cup of liquid. We're going to go ahead and warm that up. Okay. We're going to take our soup and we're going to talk about using that machine right there. Okay. That is a oh baby.
Chef, quick question.
Yes.
How do you know when the roux is like properly thickened in the?
Well, the roux will thicken as soon as you come to a boil.
Okay.
It'll do its job once you come up to a boil. What you're looking for is the flour flavor to go away. You're looking for a prevalence of the sachet ingredients and the main flavor profile of broccoli to come out. That's going to happen when they're all cooked through. You can taste a little bit of the broccoli if you want. Chances are it's going to be tender. But once you get the flavor of the broccoli in the liquid, you are pretty much there. Okay? We do want to do one thing before we go to the blender.
Remove the sachet.
Remove the sachet. Yes. That is always a glorious sound. Someone standing over a blender. Oh.
You do movie chef?
Do I what?
Sound effects for movies?
I am my own walking narrative. But yes, I would do. I've always thought I should do a podcast. I think that'd be fun.
Chef, your cream is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, here we go. In it goes. Notice I'm not going to do it on top of the blender. I'm going to do it on a base. So I can, right?
Is there any reason why you didn't add the cream yet, too?
Is there a reason why I didn't add the cream yet? Yes.
Will it froth up?
What? Whipped cream. I'll whip it. I will trap air bubbles inside the soup. And then they'll percolate out while you're eating it. And if you see little bubbles coming, could you grab that? Oh, I got it. Who is it? Yeah. Hope it's not my wife. Thank you, Tracy. You got a little something up there for me? Awesome, brother. Have a good weekend. Peace. Not my wife. But if you see little air bubbles coming out of something you're eating, you're like, what do you think? Bacteria, it's festering, it's not there. So yeah, so I put the cream in afterwards. Okay. Here we go.
Is there like a certain temperature you put the cream to before you add it?
I just make sure it comes up to a boil, because if you get cold and you pour it in, it's going to curdle,
Okay.
and then you're going to get little broken bits all over. Yes.
Should you take out a little bit of the liquid first and then add liquid?
Should you take out a little bit of, you could, but it's all thickened up because it's all gone through the process. I go over the back of a spatula or a spoon, because if I go straight in, I'm going to start dropping in pieces. It's going to splash. So I like to control the splash just a little bit. Okay. There we go. We're going to get everything out of there.
That smells so good.
Oh yeah. And this is all trim. Literally, this is a bunch of trim. That's what Chef really loves about soup. It's really just a bunch of trim. Okay, so that's going to go on the blender. When you go to the blender, you're going to let me know. I'm going to scoot over there just 1 second, please. Sorry. I want you to let me get my attention on you, because I'm going to watch each person walk through the process, okay? So rinse out your pot. There we go. Ready to go. No, don't plug it in yet. Because sometimes, let me walk through, let me tell you what goes on in life sometimes. These are kept on the shelf. And sometimes they're kept on the shelf high up. Salon blenders, especially these, unfortunately, we have two switches on the side. One is the on-off switch, and one is the high-low switch. So sometimes when you just plug it in, I like to leave it unplugged, and when you go through the motion, when you're done, unplug it, and then when you go to use it, please plug it in. But before you plug it in, what I would like you to check is that the blender itself is in the off position. It is on low. There's a dial here. It goes from 1 to 10. I want it on low. And I want you to make sure that the variable switch is on the low position. You should never touch this side of the blender. The left side of the blender should never be touched, and it should never be in the upright position. Okay. Once you're sure that the blender is safe to use, you may go ahead and plug it in. Once it's plugged in, then you may introduce the top of it. And I say that because sometimes people are just, whatever. And you may have the blender in the on position, and you may put this on there and you may plug it in. And it'll start up, and it starts up really low, and chances are it's not going to throw anything out. But there are times when someone just puts the blender away. The last time they finish it, they just shut it off, and it's in the high position, and someone bumps the switch and it's on. And you put something on there, and then you're like, I'm going to puree my soup. I better plug it in. And you're over here like this. Look where your face is. Look where the top of that blender is. Where do you think the contents of that blender are going to go?
All over you.
Straight up. In your face. Hit the ceiling. Down the back of your neck. Horrible. Off. Off. Down. Once it's very secure, thank you. You can go ahead and plug it in. I'm sure it's not going to be turned on. All right? Good. On we go. We're going to put our lid on it. We're going to put a towel over the top. And we're going to press that. No, you don't need to hold this thing down. It's not flying up into the atmosphere. But you just want to make sure if any sort of splash happens, you're able to contain it and the lid doesn't fly off. We're going to turn it on, and we're going to go all the way up to 10. You're never going to touch the left switch. You're never going to touch the left switch. You're never going to touch the left switch. We're going to go all the way up to 10. Once we're up to 10, we're going to say our ABCs twice. Roughly about a minute. Leave it on high for about a minute. That should do the trick. You can do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star if you really want to. It's both the same song. Okay. We're going to work our way slowly up to the top. After a minute at the top, we're going to work our way back down. That way, when we turn this thing off, we're down in the low position. Cool, right? Oh, and I do the next time won't you sing with me part. That's why it was a little bit longer. Okay. We're on the same page here. Oh, hello, beautiful. So awesome. Oh, you know what I do need? I do need a 2-ounce ladle. Okay, so here we go. In it goes.
You're using fine mesh, correct?
Fine mesh strainer, that is correct. Thank you very much. Best way to go through, you'll see many people straining in different ways. Some people try to get a rubber spatula in there and work it. Some people will bang. Chefs, if you do this, drive chefs crazy, right? You'll see that there's not a lot of dings on my fine mesh strainers. Because what I do is I take a 2-ounce ladle. Careful when you plunge in. If you plunge in, it's going to blurb on you. So go in, get yourself down to the cone, and look at it go. Look at it go. Look, I'm not doing nothing. And then look how quickly it comes through. Right, so you get it down in there and you just press. Be careful when you anticipate seeing the top of the ladle, because once you see the top of the ladle, chances are you may create a splash. So don't be so vigorous at that point. So it's kind of important to strain this soup, and you'll see why in a few moments. Look at all the solid material. Look at all the fibers that came out of the broccoli and the celery and the leeks. So we want a nice, smooth soup. So away we go. Okay. I suppose if you were a health nut, you might just save this and eat it. Make a little broccoli patty. I don't know, right? Probably be good for your insides. It's like all fiber. Probably not going to taste like much because hopefully all the flavor's in the soup. Okay. There we go. I will leave that over there for your viewing pleasure. Okay. That's what comes out. Okay, we just drained the soup. So we're going to want to make sure that gets hot again. Okay. Everything's beautiful. We're going to go ahead and add our hot cream now. We're going to stir that in. And that's going to take the color of the soup to a nice creamy white level. Okay. Ooh la la. So beautiful. All right. Got this broccoli sitting in ice water. So chances are they're cold. So before I add it to the soup, I'm probably going to want to warm them up again. Okay, so I'll take my garnish. I got my water getting hot over there. Typically, you're going to want a soup garnish. All right, every spoonful, every other spoonful, every third spoonful. Depends on you. I'm an every other spoonful kind of a guy. That's a cup. That's a tablespoon. There's 16 of those in that, which means I should have at least 8 pieces of garnish. I mean, think about these things. I mean, what else are you going to be thinking about when you're cooking, right? Okay. There we go. Soup's looking good. I'm going to lower that. I got it back up to a boil, so I know that's going to be wicked hot. I'm going to taste it one last time. If I need a little bit more salt. Oh, Madonna mia. So good. A little more salt. Just a little bit. Never served you bland food though, have I?
No.
No chef. No chef. Okay, there we go. Oh my God. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. A little bit of salt. Just a little bit of salt. That's what my tombstone's gonna read. Just a little bit of salt. Let's warm that up. Now these flowers, there's a lot of surface area there, right?
Mm-hmm.
See that? Look at that. It looks like it's perfectly dry. Look at the water coming out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't get the water out of there, when I go and put it in my soup, I'm gonna get this bleeding of water around my garnish. I'm gonna get a little watery halo. It's gonna look like the soup is broken. It's gonna look a little off. So I got a little towelette here. And right before I serve it, what I wanna do is I'm gonna grab my garnish out of there. Come here, you pop that. Yep, cast it. Gotcha. Okay, we're gonna go to the towel. What are we gonna do? Give it a little dab. That's right. Okay. Little dab. Little dab. Okay.
Now, Chef, could you dry it out like you do with potatoes and like put it in a saute pan or something?
Well, it is a flour, so be careful. I mean, I guess you could do it in a pan if you wanted to, but you run the risk of busting them up, and you do want them to look sort of beautiful and sexy in there. So, I would suggest not in a saute pan. And if you do it in a saute pan, you might have to use a little bit of fat. Although you could get away with stock, and then the fat will sit on the top, so you don't want that either. Okay, good. There we go. Nice, beautiful soup. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Please feel free to eat this because yesterday I ate the whole freaking quart. I wasn't the same all day long. Okay. Okay, garnish is nice and hot. I'm not cooling off the soup with it. It's kind of beautiful. It gives it a good color. I can tell what kind of soup I'm eating because I can see the broccoli on top. There we go. Good. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. Hope you brought your Tupperware. It's going to be a good day. Okay. Dig in. No cussing, please.